Hashtag 100. 100 in binary.
G'day, episode 100. Thanks for watching. In this episode, I'll tell you my top 5 favourites. Number 5, this episode.
Number 5. That's right. This very episode makes the list because I went to the bother of putting on a suit and constructing a replica of the Sydney Opera House behind me here. But let's move on to number 4. Galleries of Justice, episode 53, where I visit the Justice of Galleries in Nottingham. A very scary place, if I don't say so myself. So yes, a very scary place. At least it used to be. In the 19th century, it became a boarding school for troubled boys. One such troubled boy was Thomas. Never one for loving homework, he would put it off for as long as possible, once even putting his books down this laneway and leaving them. But when Thomas fetched them the next morning, he was shocked to find his homework mysteriously completed. Equations had been equated, his Shakespeare report had been Shakespeared, and other such things were done too. Being in a highly religious era, Thomas assumed it had been completed by God. So the next day, he wrote in his book, "What is the meaning of life?" leaving it again in the laneway. Hurrying back to his room, Thomas could not wait for the answer. He barely slept a wink, got up early, and rushed down to the laneway. Opened up his book, and under the meaning of life had been scribbled, he was then brutally murdered and buried underneath the cobblestones of the Galleries of Justice. The moral of the story? Don't get brutally murdered and buried under the cobblestones of the Galleries of Justice. Number 3. The Village, episode 54. It starts off in London town, where I am gassed at a post box. And I awake in the village in Port Merion from the cult TV series The Prisoner. It's never just called The Prisoner, it's always the cult TV series, The Prisoner. It's a rather pretty place, but a gilded cage, by any other name, still smells as something. I get some answers from a local lady.
Do you know who brought us here?
Nope.
And when I try to escape by wading through mud, a giant white ball chases me, screaming copyright infringement. Eventually, I stumble upon the location of my magic boomerang.
Thank you, yes.
I escape back to London town, only to be gassed once again at the same postbox, and awake in the year 1996 for the best cliffhanger I'll ever come up with. Number 2. Jumping over Niagara Falls, hashtag 30. Water. Without it, we're all dead. The water at Niagara has been falling for 11,985 years. And Dad used to yell at me for leaving the tap dripping. But then again, he yelled at me for a lot of things.
What did you do to the wall? You knocked the wall over. You knocked the wall over. Yeah. What have you done to the wall? Really?
This episode also has the final conflict between myself and magic boomerang thief, Michael.
No one can have it.
You're an idiot.
I'm gonna get it.
Go.
Will he return one day? Who knows what the future may hold? And the one you've been waiting for, number 1. Abandoned amusement park, Magic Kingdom. Not that Magic Kingdom. It's on the outskirts of Sydney, this one is, and has nothing to do with mouses, except the rodents that infest it now. It's an eerie place, with discarded rides, along with memories. I conquered my fear of death and rode a McDonald's food tray down this big slide.
Walkabouter's Guide to Australia.
It's a miracle I'm still alive, unfortunately. And that's it. 100 episodes. If you have watched any of these terrible videos, I hope at least felt like you were along for the ride with me. Because I was talking to you. It's just too bad you couldn't make it tonight for the big Walkabouter's Guide celebration I'm having. It's a pretty good party here.
Sorry you couldn't make it. Should have rsvp'd or something, but happy 100th birthday. Hooroo. It means goodbye in Australia.
Walkabouter's Guide to Australia.
Or whatever we end up calling this thing.